back to my channel. First of all, I would like to thank my very first Patreon supporter. I've included a nice little thank you note in the description of this video, so thank you so much. For those of you who are just now hearing about this, I started this about a week ago, and the lowest tier is for my YouTube supporters. It's $3 a month. It's basically like a little like, hey, thanks Callie, I like what you're doing, keep it up, here's a little tip. So, you know, if you want to support in that way, I would certainly appreciate it. But if not, that's okay too. I do appreciate all the time you spend watching my videos and commenting and all of that. So thank you all for being involved in this process, and I appreciate everything you've been doing for me. And, you know, you guys keep me going, you keep me inspired. So thank you so much. Now, today's video is actually going to be all about ligatures. I have like a odd collection of like a whole bunch of different ligatures here. You can kind of see them. Let's see. Whoop, we'll put that one there. We'll put this one here. So I've got this little BG leather ligature with the gold plate. I've got the gold Vandoren, I think it's the MO ligature. The leather Vandoren Ligature, Bonade, this one is silver plated, that's why it's all like kind of tarnished, but it still sounds good. Bonade Inverted Ligature, and then another Vandoren Ligature. So I'm just gonna play really quick a little sample of some music for you guys on like each of these, so you can kind of compare and contrast, and then I'm going to talk about my favorite ones and why I use them, and, you know, if you like what you hear, maybe it'll help you kind of decide on what you like best, but, you know, if you don't, then you at least know what you don't like. So, let's get started. Alright, so I actually haven't played on all of those in quite a while. I have my basic favorite ones that I like to go to pretty frequently. So now, keep this in mind while you're listening and kind of trying to determine which ones you like. My microphone is like my fingers are almost touching my microphone, so it's maybe like, I don't know how long my arms are, like 3 feet or something. I'm 6 feet tall, so like whatever half of that is, so like 2.5 feet or something away from me. 3 feet, yeah. Anyway, so my microphone is like 3 feet away from me. So the sound you hear up close like this is going to be different than the sound you would hear in a larger space. I'm going to start with my default favorite ligature, which is this guy. It's the Gold Plated Duo Ligature, and apparently it also works on alto saxophone mouthpiece. Now, I tend to prefer to use reeds that are a little bit on the softer side, so using a Gold Plated Ligature actually gives a little bit more resistance to blow against, and I like this because I get clear articulation, a little bit more resistance, and I feel like I can really project my sound, and it doesn't really matter what dynamic I play at. I can get a nice big full sound in a larger hall. So this works really well in larger spaces. So now, I know in my past couple of videos I've forgotten to switch out, but this is actually my favorite ligature, the Vandoren Leather one, to use in a smaller space, and I think it actually sounds pretty good when the microphone is like 3 feet away from me. But the problem with this is that the articulation isn't quite as clear as the metal ligatures. So that's my only issue with this guy. But that being said, it's still, for a leather ligature, the articulation actually really sounds quite clear. I like the leather pad in it. I don't like the metal one. I think the metal one sounds kind of edgy and buzzy. So if I'm going to use if I'm going to use a metal plate, I'm going to use one of these. So this is the leather one, and I like that for that reason. The other one that I really like out of this mix that I played for you is this Vandoren Optimum Ligature. Now, if you're one of those people who like doesn't put cork grease on your mouthpiece regularly and you have to switch between A and B flat all the time, this guy is going to be your best friend because it's going to stay put. I've never had an issue with my ligature coming off as I switch clarinets. So I would definitely recommend this. And the vertical plates, I'm going to pop this out. I think it's plate number 2. Let's see. Oh no, it's plate number 1, the one where the plates go up and down. It's a very similar design to the plates in this one, the classic Bonade ligature, this leather BG ligature. I think there's something magical about the vertical plates on like being placed on the reeds, so I highly recommend that plate. The other ones aren't quite as good, and this one, I think that the high range just has a really nice sound to it. In general, this gets a nice big resonant sound, but it is a little bit bright for my taste, and of course, like, I'm playing on a Yamaha, which is generally a little bit brighter sounding than a buffet instrument. So if you're looking to get more color and more of the higher overtones in your sound, this would be a great ligature for that. If you're looking for more clarity in your articulation, also a great ligature for that. So I use this on occasion, depending on what kind of sound I want, depending on what I'm playing. So that's this guy. Now my next favorite, so that's what, first, second, third. My next favorite would have to be just the standard Bonade ligature. You've got these vertical plates which sound great. They help the reed really resonate and sound excellent. And it really takes away a lot of the resistance. It's very, very free-blowing compared to something like a gold-plated ligature, in my opinion. So the only thing I don't like about it are these screws. If you really have to screw them in tightly in order to get even pressure across the entire reed. So that's one reason why I like these single screw designs. All of these other ones have single screw designs, and actually the Vandoren ones have the best screw design because it screws in from both sides, and so it applies even pressure, whereas something like the BG ones, they only have the threads on the one side, so they can wear out a little easier. Anyway, so I find that difficult. So like every couple of months, whenever I was using Bonade ligature, they would break just because you would have to really adjust the screw tension to get it right. But you know, if you're not like crazy like me and like trying to get even pressure on both of these, or if you know you're like younger and you're not as like strong and you physically can't do them super tight, then it's a good one. I mean, it's like 25 bucks and it has a great sound. So a lot of my students play on this ligature, and I've rarely had any students whose ligatures have broken on them for this. That being said, this ligature right here, the Duo Ligature, you do have to be careful with it because the threads on this gold-plated one can actually become worn down if you screw in too tightly. So the first ligature I had of this, that broke on me, so the screw broke, so I did get it replaced and everything, it was fine, but I think the screw replacement like 12 bucks. But I've been going strong for about almost a year now with this one, and I haven't had any issues. So for something like this one, you really don't have to screw it super tight in order to get nice even pressure on the reed and to get a secure hold. There are little grips on it and everything. So if you end up buying a ligature like this, like, you don't have to go nuts with the screw tension on it. So that brings me to the next ligature. This was actually the first BG ligature that I got. It's a pretty old version of it, so it doesn't have the little thread down in the middle, so you can get the ones, I don't really know what the threads mean. You can get like the one with the green thread and the red thread or whatever. But I bought this. I like the gold because of the resistance factor. It works well for me. And this kind of gives a little bit more of a warm sound. The only thing I don't like is that it can sound a little bit uneven in the like higher range and overtones. So that's my only problem with this one. And sometimes it's a little hard for me to get like that right kind of ping in my sound that I like to get. There's a certain resonance that I'm like trying to get, and but that being said, it's nice rich sound, good articulation. I think the metal in the middle kind of helps out with that. Now I know I said these are my favorite things, but I actually really don't like this one that much at all. It's got that great single screw design that is patented by Vandoren, so you get nice even pressure across the reed on this, but I'm just not a huge fan of the sound that the horizontal plates get on stuff like ligatures like this. So, but I wanted to include it just so you guys could get a sound of the difference in between some of these ligatures. And I personally find the articulation, for whatever reason, like usually leather ligatures have kind of weird articulation. I feel like this one's just really hard to get a clean, clear articulation for me. So, I don't know. For some people it works really well, and for others like myself it kind of really doesn't. And lastly, I think it just doesn't like allow me to get the right kind of clarity and focus in the sound that I'm going for. So yeah, I hope that helped you guys. Again, these two are my favorites, the Vandoren Leather and the BG Duo Ligature. I think they're great. And then A close second is the Vandoren Optimum and the Bonade Inverted. So if you're on a budget, I highly recommend the Vandoren Inverted Ligature as an upgrade from whatever you're playing on. I mean, I know plenty of professionals who buy those by the case and just crank it and play them and change them out every month when they break. So, you know, if that's the sound you like and you're okay with, you know, this kind of design that could potentially break on you, then go for it. And that's not meant to be mean. It's just, you know, that's just how these are. Yeah. So I hope that helps. And I don't know. That's all I have. Yeah, if you guys have any questions about any of these, I haven't really tried out some of the newer models of ligatures that have come out, so, you know, maybe I will. Being a clarinet player, and a very nerdy one at that, I like all this stuff. I mean, look at this barrel. Look at this. Ugh, I like all this stuff. But at the end of the day, you know, you can't, and I, you know, and I tell myself this and I remind my students this too, like, stuff to an extent will help you get better, but you know, at a certain point you got to make sure that your fundamentals are there. So if your embouchure is bad, if your breath support is bad, if you can't play with a good tongue position and stuff like that, no amount of money is going to help you sound better. You just got to sit down and practice and figure some things out. So you know, I think in a future video, I want to talk about mouthpieces a little bit and different mouthpieces and ligature combos and stuff for different levels. But for now, we're just going to stick with ligatures. If you like what you saw, please consider supporting me on Patreon. And I guess that's about it. Thank you so much for watching and happy practicing.